Good day. This is your host, Roy Cornish at CNN News. And today I'm going to talk on a seminar that had two sets of presenters. The first presenter was Dr. Andre and Isaiah Martin, who talked on biodiversity of benthos in mangrove mudflats. It was good to see a student and a professor come together to do something great. As me being a history and geography major for secondary education, it was cool to see a different subject in biology do a lot of field work in which they did. Now, they said that they wanted to study algae, but it became a bigger and wider scope of research when it came down to it, which is always good because we would like to find out as much as we could on the island of New Providence and all of the islands around us. As I said before, I am in the field of geography, and geography does a lot of field work as well. It intrigued me when I heard about the climate change in the environment. Being a geography teacher, I would like for my future students to also be intrigued with topics like climate change to see how we could better help the environment around us so that it can help us back. Through this widened scope of research, I'd like for my students to get familiar with areas such like the beach on Coral Harbor and Bonefish Park, because these parks are not only for climate change, but they also let us see the species that we have here in the Bahamas, whether you can see them or not. Biology and geography can do a lot of things when it comes to looking at the education system. One thing that I would wish that the education system would bring together is the partnership of a lot of subjects. When it comes to biology, I see them using a lot of microscopes. In geography, we should be able to team up with teachers as well on that side and be able to do a lot of research because, like I've said over and over, this can widen the scope of research that both sides can do, and it can inform us so that we can inform students on the things that are going around us in the Bahamas. Many times in geography and biology, we learn a lot of stuff when it comes from America or Europe. But if we would take the time out to do a lot of field study in Providence, I think a lot of students, future students, will gain appreciation for their environment, hence them taking care of it. Yes, it is great that students in New Providence get to explore a lot of these things when it comes into these subjects like geography and biology. But I also think about the outer islands and how they lack a lot of these resources and a lot of these textbooks when it comes to doing their own research. It makes me wonder what's going on in the islands. And I think that the Ministry of Education can do a lot when it comes to doing research on the outer islands for students that go to Little Rock Sound or Lilinago Primary and so on and so forth. Because when it comes down to it, a lot of the research that I've seen based off of several seminars is done on these islands by people that may have been from Utah, that may have been from all over the world. But why can't we get our students on the islands intrigued? Because there's numerous amount of things such as diverse coral reefs, pink sand, and so on and so forth, and a lot of microorganisms and a lot of animals that we can see, like iguanas, are living there where we can do our own studies. And I believe that we do have the fund to do it, and the Ministry of Education should implement it on the islands. Our next set of presenters are Dr. Kerber and Dr. Odi Heimbo, who brought to us an assessment of the fine particles with a study at the University of the Bahamas. The most intriguing part of this seminar piece was the amount of gadgets that they used to conduct their survey. As a geography teacher, I would say that we need more gadgets when it comes to being able to conduct our field work in our various studies. They use the camera, laser, remote sensing, And they also use the purple air sensors to do a lot of their work with air pollution. As a future educator, even though the study would have concluded that air pollution was not as much as you would see abroad, I still think that the study should be widened. Meaning, yes, it's good to look at the University of Bahamas and certain blocks, but when I look at Providence, I say that there needs to be a study. Now, when I look at biochemistry and biology, they absolutely can look at their fieldwork study from the way that they did. But when it comes to geography, I would like to actually do my own study with the kids, with the students, when it comes to doing hopefully some coursework pieces, if it allows it. As a future educator that has been in schools, I see a lot of talk about climate change and global warming, but a lot of the times it's on the surface level, meaning that they don't necessarily talk about air pollution as one of the factors for global warming and climate change. I do think in the Bahamas that we do neglect the topic of air pollution because a lot of people would say that we have great air when it comes to going to maybe a Orlando that the students would often talk about when they compare the beaches to our beaches. But there is, I would say, as my hypothesis, as a person living in the Bahamas and an educator, that our air pollution is not less and it does not meet the standard. We should teach our students, and I believe that the Ministry of Education should implement a lot of talk about air pollution, like seminars and so on and so forth, to show students that we should not wait until we can see it, but we should study it so that it never comes. Because the moment that we see a lot of air pollution, we will have to take a lot of time in trying to save our environment when it would be easier to save our environment now with the studies that we could have on air pollution and various other topics that I do say we neglect within the education system when it comes to climate change. We should have climate change days where we have, like I said before, seminars, we could give out brochures to make sure that students understand why we need to do such things. We could also have remote laser sensing classes so that students could understand what these things are and how to use them, so that we can intrigue the students into wanting to go into the field to protect their own environments, and then possibly even going out into other environments in the world so that we can make the world better for all human life.